Hello, and welcome once again, J76NY here. This is the start of something new. This is episode number 2 of our debag playthrough on Suzerain. It's time to let this douchebag shine and get into the meat and potatoes of running Sordland. What should we do first? We can check the news, we can go to all these reports. We're going to check the news first. Let's see what they say. Rayne spoke of unity. President Anton Rayne has been sworn into duty in a great ceremony in Holsword. Thousands have attended, where President Rayne has met with his supporters for the first time after his election. His inauguration, Rayne spoke of unity, bringing focus on people's right for a free and prosperous life. I don't remember saying that. For many generations, this country and its long history have kept us tied to an idea, the idea of unity, said the new president before he went on to start his first day in the Maroon Palace. Sordland today, says President Anton Rayne. New president has been sworn into office by the Chief Justice. After another great win for the USP and Anton Rayne, who managed to get 37% of the vote. First congratulations came from Kizaro Kiebner of the National Front Party. Runner-up of the general vote, the PFJP, didn't concede until the last minute, but the results were clear since several hours in. Thousands of supporters have gathered in the streets of Dire chanting campaign slogans, waving flags, and displaying USP party banners to display unwavering support to the newly elected president. The city is celebrating that a Dire-born president with humble roots is now sitting in the Maroon Palace. Let's see how long they celebrate. The new assembly begins duty, says the Lockhaven Times. President Anton Rayne has been elected 4th president of Sordland in the 7th Sordland elections. The United Sordland Party has won the elections on Sunday with just over 37% of the vote, while Franz Richter, the leader of the People's Freedom and Justice Party, could gain just over 20%. Kizaro Kiebner, the head of the right-wing National Front Party, in 3rd place with just over 11%. The Communist Party of Sordland and the Workers' Party of Bludia both won just below 10% of the vote, failing to pass the 10% election threshold. The election threshold is something that is probably going to come into play a little later on. What it means is they really don't have a say in anything that goes on in the General Assembly. They don't have a voice, basically. So the Bloods, who are kind of like the... I don't know how the best way to put them would be like the minority of the country. It's not the best term to put it in, but it is what it is. We'll have to see how that plays out. Maybe I'll take a liking to the Bloods, maybe not. Now the Radical is, yeah. Well, let's find out what the Radical is. How many times will the people fall for the same trap? We've seen this before with Colonel Sol, who supposedly saved this country and brought stability in times of chaos. His stability, however, meant a life of oppression. Many opposing voices were silenced and many were persecuted, next to Alfonso, who was elected as the liberal reformer to bring change to the USP, and Sordland, seeing his unfortunate ability, his own cabinet resigned. The Economist, restructure the infrastructure. After the recent successful mega infrastructure projects from United Cantana and Volksland, the world is warming up to the idea as a source of growth and employment. But is there any truth to the success? Our investment analysis indicate the infrastructure investment can be fruitful in the short term, but even more so in the long term. What they're talking about is I'm going to be given a choice of major projects. I think that's my first choice as president is pick one of the major projects and see how it goes. I did the highway last time. It did pretty good. A new era begins for Sordland, and it holds many economic questions that will need to be answered by President Rayne. Speaking of our economy, this is actually decent compared to my last playthrough, which was always just in the tank. We got a budget of 3. And my personal wealth right here is 1. I'm going to try and get this up as high as possible. And let's see what we can do for the economy. Because money. The year-on-year growth budget balance and production index values indicate the two most productive consecutive years had been when the privatization programs of Alfonso began in 1949. That's about to come to an end. Our editorial team, with the help of experts like Mikhail Avin and Edith Agnock, I've never heard this name before, British businessman. That's not the same one from last time, I don't think. Oh, cool. President Rayne must take the advice of planned economy proponents. Yeah. Round him with a pinch of salt, otherwise he could find himself in the same spot as Tarkin Sol in the mid-40s. Alright, so that's the news of the day. Now let's read some reports. Read the report from Holsword. That's the capital. That's where we are. Mayor of Holsword reports that the rising population and fast urban expansion has resulted in higher levels of congestion in the city traffic. The logistics report underlies increased traffic and slow transportation routes as the biggest problem of the capital. The mayor also reported that the absence of a well-designed large land-based logistics center where all transporters come together is one of the greatest problems for domestic transporters because Holsword is a big metropolis. Transporters are scattered all over Holsword, having established such centers in 10 different districts. Okay. General Staff gathers. The General Staff convened right after the election to congratulate our victory. All branches of the Swordish Armed Forces were represented in the meeting that took place at Camp Strongarm with massive security measures. The Chief of the Armed Forces, Vulcan Kruger, made a public press statement highlighting the increased chance of military confrontation in East Mercopa and thanked us for the promise to strengthen and support the military. He's kind of like my second Secretary of Defense. Let's see, Swordish... Chief of the Swordish Armed Forces. So yeah, he's like my Secretary of Defense. We got 2 briefings to attend. Let's take a look at elsewhere. Report from Lockhaven. The port of Lockhaven loses importance. The latest marine traffic report shows that port of Lockhaven is no longer the busiest of the Mercopa continent, falling behind to the 3rd position. While this is a negative indicator for our administration, Lockhaven still has the potential to shining in as a major trading center. Port of Lockhaven is the largest port of Sordland and holds enormous importance for the economy, particularly as the main distribution center linking the capital and inner parts of Sordland to the rest of the world. This major port city will hopefully keep supporting a possible economic upturn in the entire country if investment projects succeed. This is Arvory. Lack of investment. The mayor of Arvory, Eric Nile, reports a lack of adequate infrastructure around Arvory, which seriously undermines the attractiveness of Arvory's investment climate. Foreign investors, particularly from Agnolia, are becoming hesitant to invest in the city. Meanwhile, according to data published by the National Business Council, around 19% of the company's total expenditures in ag land is absorbed by logistics costs, while in pure regions, this figure is below 10%. Okay. Low production in ag land. Report calls attention to the alarmingly low levels of productivity growth in the region of ag land, where there is also a high rate of food insecurity, malnutrition, and rural poverty. Sucks to be them. Let's see. We've got Agnolia. Prime Minister Van Houten, that's him, congratulated us on our election and praised our party's stance on just and transparent elections. He signaled his wishes to continue the trade partnership. Not the one I really want to trade with, though. Oh, here we go. Vogsland. Chancellor Hagel sent his congratulations on your great victory and wished for close cooperation between our countries in the future. Hagel signaled concessions from Vogsland in case of a promising trade deal. He also congratulated the Swordish democracy for the successful elections and warned us about the threat Arcasia's growing influence poses for Eastern Mercopa. These guys are all going to congratulate me, except for Rumberg. They think they're tough, but they haven't met Anton Rayne yet. Congratulations from Prime Minister Alvarez. Prime Minister Alvarez congratulates you for the results and spoke about his hopes to have beneficial partnership deal in the future. He sent his best wishes to the Swedish people and warned us about the threat of encroaching Malianist influence in the United Cantana from the east, emphasizing the importance of unity on our continent. Okay. All right, on to Wayland. President Smolak, not what he looked like last time, I don't think, sent his congratulations on the election victory and wished for a cooperative future between Wayland and Sordland, signaling a desire to normalize the diplomatic situation between the two countries. All right. Have some meetings. A briefing on the current political situation. Petr Vecturn arrived a couple of minutes early and sat across from me. He was struggling to hold back his smile. We did it, Anton. We won. Finally. All those games we played with the media paid off. Peter's eyes sparkled. The strain of the past months had put a damper on his usual rakish charm, but today he was looking and acting more like his old self. He loosened his tie and undid the top 2 buttons of his shirt. Enjoying the new secretary I picked out for you. Thought you'd appreciate her gorgeous set of talents. It's a shame the rest of your staff aren't as easy on the eyes. He gestured to the slight paunch that protruded over his waistband. But hey, back in the university, did you ever imagine we would be sitting here in the Maroon Palace? We have to celebrate this great victory. Let's celebrate then. I got my hands on some special for us. An Urloy Maroon 30-year-old. Let's get drunk. I opened the expensive bottle of whiskey and poured it into 2 glasses I prepared. The exquisite smell filled the room immediately. In 1924, that was my freshman year, also the year after the Revolution. Very difficult times, to be honest, but this smells like heaven. Future awaits, Petr. Toast. Raised my glass and toasted with Petr before smelling the whiskey and taking a sip. The sweet vanilla tones, combined with an oaky taste, developed into a lingering smokiness. Petr really seemed to be enjoying himself. What a taste. Thought we should start out all meetings, Anton. We wouldn't get much done. Or we could, but maybe we shouldn't. I want option number 3. How about absolutely, Petr? Yeah, but we were different. All they did was enjoy the privilege. I hope it won't be the case for my cabinet, and we can't make the same mistakes again. We learned from it all. I do hope so. The door swung open, and Lucian Galande, my chief strategist, kind of like a chief of staff. He's a vice president, by the way, in case you didn't remember. Walked in. He was a compact man with a sharp bird-like features. After briefly surveying the room from wall to wall, he sat down, poured a glass of water, and opened his briefcase in a series of quick, graceful movements. Gentlemen, and no, I'm not doing voices for these people. I'll have to deal with my monotone voice for each and every one of them, even the children and women. The tall case clock in the room struck 3 o'clock. Damn, you are exactly on time. Hello, Petr. Lucian then turned towards me. He very slightly bowed his head. Glad to see you, Lucian. Lucian, how are you? Let's not waste any time, Lucian. Proceed with the overview. Right to business. Lucian spoke in soft, clipped tones that immediately drew your attention towards what he had to say. Petr and I waited for him to proceed. Let's start by evaluating our current situation. The majority of the Swedish people demand change. They are more concerned about the economy than the Constitution, but they blame the system for their problems. People are losing their trust in our democracy. Why do you think radicals like Bernard Circus are becoming more popular? He is a Swedish poet, novelist, short story writer, and politician. He's from Dire too, so we're buds. Everyone's expecting us to bring the change. The last government did not. Franz Richter, leader of the Reformists, believes that true change can only be accomplished by transferring some of our power to the Assembly. Well, fuck that. I agree with the Reformists. I do not. We need to listen to the people if we want to serve this country. Maybe. If we lose power, we won't be able to execute the changes we need to make for the good of the country. Okay. Power. May create issues for us, yes. However, with the Reformists gaining more popularity, we may not be in a position to stand against them. Mr. Richter managed to persuade many members of the Assembly to give their support for drafting a new constitution. Reformist politicians are quickly increasing in number. While the Reformist wing inside our party is still a minority, they could have a tripartisan majority in the Assembly, especially if they unite under Franz Richter. USP Reformists aren't wrong to agree that we need change, but we should be in charge. Mr. Richter could be a potential ally in our goal to maintain a majority in the Assembly. Our party must fall in line with our position. We can't have a strong divide. We should be in charge. We can't let the PFJP leadership take spotlight on this. PFJP is the People's Freedom and Justice Party, with Franz Richter at their head. The Reformist demands are clear. They want to limit the president's veto powers. Not going to happen. Ensure that the Supreme Court is independent and take away the court's right to vote on constitutional amendments. I support the Reformists. We need proper balance of power in the country. We must listen to their demands, otherwise we are no different than the previous administrations. Won't allow them to influence me. We will shape our own future. It's my way or the highway, guys. Get used to that idea. The Old Guard, which is... Well, in Sordland, the term Old Guard is referred to describe a group of influential individuals in the government. While some call it an urban myth and dismiss it, others are claiming the existence of a wide, deep state that controls the state apparatus. So here we go with this. There is still not a single public admission from the suspected figures. Right. So the Old Guard will do its best to preserve the Constitution. Chief Justice Hawker and his allied judges have a great influence over the Supreme Court, which will be tough to break. The court also has the final say over constitutional legislation. Without their approval, we cannot even change it. We'll need a comprehensive bill to balance the power structure more fairly. We must break the power of the Supreme Court one way or another. I'd rather not go against them. The risks are too high. There are a lot of risks going against Hawker and the deep state Old Guard, I guess you could say. Well, I want more power for myself, and having the Supreme Court yeah. Alright. We must break the power of the Supreme Court one way or another. I agree. They have too much power over Sordish politics. We need to take away their vote in constitutional legislation. It is absurd that they get to vote for bills when they aren't even elected. We cannot allow obstructionists to exist. We can't underestimate the situation. Can't let people get in my way of doing what I want. We can figure it out. Our party still holds 130 out of the 250 seats in the Assembly. We've got the power. However, to reform the Constitution, we must receive a 2/3 majority in the Grand National Assembly, which is 166 votes, and a simple majority in the Supreme Court that equals 6 votes. How many people are on the Supreme Court? I don't think it says. Right. After we have settled on how to proceed, we will need to talk with our party figures. Our first goal must be to get the 150 signatures needed to start the process. Following the green light from the USP, we will reach out to the other party leaders to see if they would back our draft. The last step is to convince the justices of the court. The entire process will take a long time, but we must start working with a reform committee to evaluate all possibilities for a new constitution as soon as possible. We will write a more democratic constitution with the reformist. A new constitution should give the president wide-ranging powers to lead Sordland into the future. We could work with the old guard to protect our existing extensive power. That may only be the way to go. We're going to go with that. We're going to try and work with the old guard. Petr Vecturn. How? You know the public wants us to enact extensive reforms. How do we know if the old guard would support you? Shut up, Petr. Lucian raised an eyebrow. If we go against the demands of the people, the reformists will be furious. It could backfire. We can handle it. It will be a dangerous path to follow. Petr shook his head. Why would you want to work with the old guard? Without Solus' support, we have no power. I need to maintain my powers. Only a strong administration can make Sordland great. I need to maintain my powers. I don't know if we can survive that politically. You're talking about going against the reformists and public opinion all at once. I am, actually. Mr. Vice President has a point. Cut it out, you two. Are you not with me or not? If you're serious about this, I will explore the options for you, Mr. President. However, I must stress that I am not for this. I see that, but we will move towards this direction for now. What about you, Petr? Yes, of course I'm with you. Well, let's see what we can do about it. Lucian scratched his head. Let us at least work with a reform committee to start talking with all stakeholders in the assembly and the court just to query opinions. I'll try to reach out to the old guard in the meantime. My last playthrough it was old guard poster boy Tarkin Soul that tanked my constitutional reforms, so if you're wondering why I'm going with the old guard approach, by later in the year we should have an idea about the reform contents and what the other parties want. Then we can decide whether to pull the trigger. And I've got no problems betraying anyone, so promise big, deliver small, or not at all. Another important point. Must be aware of the Lotharberg Group. The hell is that? Lotharberg Group is a private non-governmental organization which assesses the economic condition of Sordland and the globe. Currently, the spokesman of the organization is Walter Tusk. There's that guy. I remember him. He's kind of a prick. Alright. So it's kind of like the Bilderbergs, I guess. The oligarchs convene under this organization to influence economic policy. Few elites have gained their riches by buying state assets cheap from privatization efforts. Conrath led it for a long time before falling ill. The new leader is Mr. Walter Tusk. According to reports, some members of the National Business Council are in their pockets. Tusk and the group will surely try to bribe us in exchange for special economic protection. Okay? I want to work with them anyway. The new administration will be open to talk to business people. I won't be bought. It won't happen. I absolutely will be bought every chance I get. I will enter a dialogue with them eventually. We need to be diplomatic. We won't let these privileged, greedy, snobby capitalists run the country. I want to work with them anyway. It's always easier for the administration to have business support. Lucian looked at Petr. As far as I know, Marcel Carante has some strong ties to this group. His influence could definitely be an asset for us, but I'm sure he'll want something in return. Marcel Carante is a Sordish businessman, philanthropist, and entrepreneur who is the son of the media proprietor Conrath Carante. I'm aware of Mr. Carante's wide network. That could come in handy. The group's influence is an important force, one that we should use to our administration's advantage. The group is dependent on our economic policies. They can't move a finger without us. Tusk is heading that group. We should make sure he is on our side. We could use that to our advantage. We can get them to side with us. It all depends on what benefits we can offer and what the leader wants. We need to tread carefully on all sides, with all power players to survive our term. We need to tread carefully on all sides with all power players to survive our term. We need to underline the seriousness of this situation. Our election campaign promised to focus on the military. This was a safe choice. The military and the general staff are a powerful element in the state, and as history tells us, a dangerous one too. Military can be close allies, and with the Rumburg threat on the horizon, we need them. British armed forces represent our pride as a nation, and will be funded as promised. I don't want to die in prison just like Arthur J. Wishy did. My last playthrough, I died in prison. So. I don't want to die in prison. None of us want to live through the 1927 scenario again. Defense Minister Joseph Lancia, this bulldog, is more loyal to us compared to General Kruger. I like his. He's pretty cool. A fact that obviously can change with our actions. Either way, I see a potential rift between the two since they are clearly of different minds. If we act strongly against the military, both of these guys will unite against us. I agree with Lucian. We need to tread carefully here. Lucian looked at his watch. Well then, gentlemen, precisely 30 minutes. This concludes our political briefing for today. Our next meeting will be about our media strategy. Talk to you soon, sir. I will keep in touch. See you both at the next meeting. Lucian and Petr bid their farewells and left. A mysterious amount of smoke was rising far away in the horizon. It's interesting. We got a lot to go through here. News. Let's go to the meeting on the current economic situation after we read the newspapers. Fire strikes Holsword State University archive. Sudden fire broke out in the archive of Holsword State University, engulfing a significant part of the academic administration building. It was put out by local firefighters after burning for 8 hours and ravaging through the historic library, which housed many priceless documents. Reporters on the scene have relayed that the event occurred in the evening, with multiple staff at the facility being transported to the hospital. Sander Navek immediately commented that the incident has damaged several academic works and employee records. Might have lost the world, or we might have lost Maricopa. Committee for Reforms. Speaker Gloria Torres said that a committee which included all 3 political parties of the Assembly has been formed for the preparation of potential changes to the Constitution. The committee has been asked to submit a comprehensive report to find a solution for the current problematic state of affairs in the government institutions. Torres said USP wants to appeal to the people of Sordland to help and maintain stability and order in the state. Okay. Lockhaven Times. Support in Assembly grows for campaign finance bill. Bill to change the criteria for the allocation of public funds to political parties is proposed by Representative Elvin Clavin, the USP. The bill aims to change the criteria from the proportional vote of votes won in the general election to proportion of seats won by a political party in the Grand National Assembly. This would result in an increase of about 28 million Sordish Ren to the governing United Sordland Party, which will benefit the most from the proposed bill. Okay. Rumburg coming south. Our foreign policy analysts who are reviewing the recent aggressive military and diplomatic developments of Rumburg have come to the conclusion that it is highly likely that Rumburg will keep trying to push further south, threatening the territories of Sordland, Wayland, and possibly Agnolia. The annexation of Dome many decades ago was just the beginning. Rumburg seeks to be on a quest to secure all strategic resources in East Maricopa, Rumburg. Let's see, this is their leader, Queen Beatrice Livingston. That's our main antagonist in the story here. A report from Dyer. The region of Bergia is among the worst hit regions in Sordland, where homelessness has skyrocketed since the economic recession. The number of homeless in the city of Dyer is more likely to have increased by 25% in the last year. That's my hometown, so can't really be messing with that. The rise was partially stark among Bluedish people, where homelessness increased by 72% in just 6 years. Wow. It is reported that homelessness among ethnic minorities has reached the highest level in more than a decade. The Bluedish minority of the region now account for up to 47% of all homeless people there. All right, we got something flashing here. Country overview. Reform Committee, BFP band. What's that all about? Oh, ex-president and our founder Tarkin Sol declared the Bluedish Freedom Party, or BFP, to be an illegal criminal organization due to their secessionist activities. Reform Committee has been formed to discuss the possibilities of a new constitution with all parties of the government. Okay, so we can go through the overview of all of this stuff in here. I'm not going to do it right now, but we'll just quickly look at that and then move on. Political overview. This is my cabinet. We're going to meet all these people eventually, but we can just go through them. Peter Vecturn is the vice president. Lucian is our chief of staff. Joseph Lancia is the Minister of Defense and Security. Trying to think of a real-world example of him. Chairman of the Joint Chiefs. You're an American. Chief of the General Staff, maybe. Nia Morgana is the Minister of Justice and Law. Diamond Hole is the Minister of Economy, Commerce, and Energy. Lilius Graf, who I don't like very much based on what she did in my last playthrough, is the Minister of Interior. Kira Walda is the Minister of Technology. David Wissey is the Minister of Foreign Trade. Gus Manger is the Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development. And Pascal Benowal is the Minister of Health, Social Affairs, and Labor. Factions are Old Guard, with Orso Hawker being a key figure. The Oligarchs, Walter Tusk. And the Reformists with Franz Richter. This is the legislative overview. This is the number of seats that the USP holds right here. So that just opens that. With the PFJP in the blue, the NFP in red, and the Independents down here at the bottom. Gloria Torre is the Speaker of the Grand National Assembly and the head of the USP, I believe. Franz Richter is the leader of the opposition and chairman of the PFJP. Keebner is chairman of the NFP. Mansoun Leckie is leader of the Independents. Here's the Supreme Court. Oh, here we go. What I was looking at. Old Guard comprises 2, 4, 5. Centrist 3 and Reformist 3. So if we want to pale up with the Old Guard, we could probably work on the centrist on the Supreme Court. And maybe get them to switch, because we need 6 votes on the Supreme Court to get anything passed in the constitutional amendment field. So there's that. There's the overview. Let's read the report from Whole Sword. People's view on the need for democratic reform in the government structure has changed over the last decade. Reformist propaganda from the leader of the PFJP, Franz Richter, have resulted in a massive increase in demand for democratic reforms. It is estimated that currently 55% of the population supports the reformist idea. Okay. Police report about the fire. Extent of the damage is worse than expected. Doesn't say anything about who might be behind the fire or any reason for the fire. Go with the media strategy here. Lucian and Petr arrived at my office to talk about recent developments in the media strategy. They both took their seats across from me, Lucian putting on his reading glasses and quickly went over some documents. Petr turned to Lucian and nodded. Hello, everybody. I've just received further information from the interior about the sudden fire that broke out at the Holsard State University Archive. This was not a part of my last playthrough, so very cool. Tell me more. Was it put out quickly? It's not the subject of my interest. I'm kind of curious. To be honest with you, I wonder who could have caused that fire. The initial reports from the Holsard police chief indicate a potential arson case. In accordance of further suspicion, the Sordis Intelligence Directorate has been called. Is the SID really necessary for this? Why would anyone hit the archives of a university in the first place? I see no logical motive there. Seems like the chief suspects foreign sabotage. Great. They informed us that a large section of the archive has been destroyed and include tens of thousands of our globally recognized research documents, an original by the great thinkers of our people. Shame so much knowledge was lost. To Peter's point, what could the motive be if indeed it was arson? We need to support our education system to make new discoveries for the future. What's that got to do with anything? What could the motive be? Why would they do it? The fact that the employee records have been destroyed along with the research documents raises further questions. Luckily, most originals have copies in other universities and some international libraries. My favorite book's original, The Geopolitics of Sordland by Herman Equa, was destroyed too. Maybe it was just a fire accident. You have the copies of most important works, so no single fire can eradicate our knowledge. I also see no point in destroying employee records either. More important, Lucian mentioned that Marcel Caranti contacted him. Oh boy. The Carantis have always been known as one of the richest and most influential families in Sordland. Marcel was no exception. He was the oldest son of Conrath, the industrialist and media mogul who founded HOS, which is Heart of Sordland Conglomerate, multi-industry corporation worth tens of billions of Sordish Ren. Richest man in the entire country of Sordland. He's offered to meet with you, Mr. President. Why is he sending his son? Why don't he come here himself? He unfortunately passed away today. That's a good reason, I guess. After the passing of the father, may he rest in peace, Marcel aims to become the next CEO of the HOS conglomerate. He mentioned a productive collaboration. They're a powerful and influential media conglomerate. To start with, they own the Sordland Today newspaper, the Sordish Broadcasting Corporation, which means that it would be wise to have them on our side. Sorry for interrupting. Sounds like there's potential there. There's definitely potential that could go both ways. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. First, we need to determine our general approach to the media. I'm no media expert, but Lucian made some very interesting arguments at the preparation meeting today. There are two ways we can approach the media. One of them is by influencing it, which has clear advantage. The other one is keeping it independent. The media is a tool to be used. Oh, how true that is. Now we just got to get them to play along like our own media does, and we'll be golden. I agree the media plays a huge role in adapting public opinion towards our views and policies, while helping us avoid damage from scandals or mistakes. While I do acknowledge that this will sound a bit harsh, I certainly believe that our perspective, knowledge, and experience allows us to have superior judgment compared to the average sort of citizen. Way to go, Lucian. I share your opinion. We are the smartest. Everyone else is just a hairless monkey. You are both aware of my certain expertise with public opinion swaying. I will make sure the media is on our side. 2 knocks were heard on the door. There you go. Who is it? Whoops. Misclick. My new secretary entered the office, Livia Suno. Her dark curls bounced as she crossed the room to my desk. She spoke with a slight lilt in her voice, so she's got a lisp. Excuse me, Mr. President. Mr. Galad's secretary has been calling me and wanted to retrieve. I can't do that shit. Marcel Caranti, the new CEO for HOS Conglomerate, is on the line for Mr. Galad. Well, the ball's in our court now. You like to talk to him, sir, or do you want me to? I'll talk to him. Right away, sir. Connecting the call to line 1. Pick up the phone when it's ringing. Hello, Marcel. Greetings, Mr. Rayne. Mr. President. Prick. I know your time is valuable, so I will not waste any of it. I was just elected CEO of HOS. My strategy in the running of the conglomerate will be different than my father's approach. This is why I am offering a partnership deal regarding our media branch. I'd like to formally invite you to my resort near Conriat for a meeting to discuss the details. Thank you for the offer. I would be interested in a meeting. What does that entail? Find out more. Our future as partners, Mr. President. Surely we can't talk about the details on the phone. I just wish to have a face-to-face conversation with you. I will send you the details through my secretary if you are interested. Yes, I am. You will not be disappointed, I promise. Well then, I'll let you return to your packed schedule. See you later, Mr. President. Thank you for the, see you later, Mr. Karani. Hung up the phone. I'll set things up right away. Expect a worthwhile meeting in the next month. Settled then. Looking forward to next month. I wonder if he has a pool. Lucian looked at his watch. It appears we're done for today. We will continue where we left off later. Thank you for your time. Good work, Marcel. Keep it up. Marcel? His name's Lucian. Lucian and Peter nodded before gathering their documents and leaving my office. We're already getting the attention of key figures and potentially dangerous ones. All right. So, politics in the media. Or is Bedfellows? And we got some news to read. I'm going to save all this for the next one, then we can have our, holy Christ, there's a lot of shit. We'll save all that for the next episode. But we took care of our political overview, kind of got things rolling there. We're going to be siding with the old guard, trying to get the centrists to flip their votes. I'm going to pale up to them, hopefully use them to my advantage, and then possibly betray them, because I do think in Sordland, the Supreme Court does have way too much power, and I want more for myself, so that'll be a long time in coming. Those constitutional reforms take forever to get through the Grand National Assembly. But we'll pick this up in the next episode. If you like this one, hit the like button. Curious about what you guys think of this so far. I know we haven't really gotten too much into the game, but Feel free to offer your guidance and advice in the comments below. If you want to follow along through our douchebag playthrough on Suzerain, hit the subscribe and come along with us. Should be a fun ride. J76NY saying thank you very much for watching and have yourself a very good day.